Americans, my dad was super fit and healthy, and he has Alzheimer's. And I think a lot of just the pandemic, but processed stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what happens too is as people age, they just don't give a shit.
Yeah.
And if they're not used to cooking for themselves or grew up with a lot of healthy food, they just go to what's easy.
Mm-hmm.
And the hospitals also feed people absolutely horrible things that exacerbate.
It's all processed.
Which is crazy to me, because what the medical system is supposed to be built on, Hippocrates said, let food be thy medicine. And in a hospital, a place of health, you're going to feed people trash processed food. That never made any sense.
Yeah, but you look at, the society today too, it's all big corporation benefits.
Mm-hmm.
What's benefit the big corporation? They do that. And then they brainwash you to eat whatever it is that they put out there. At the old time, we grow the food and then we eat what we grow.
Mm-hmm.
People go hunt and then they'll bring their food home. They don't just sit there and have a big feast at the table and eat by themselves. They share with their villages. If they kill a deer, they take it home and they share among the entire people who live in that village. We today, big corporations created all these food. And in those food, there are chemicals in there. There are products in there that our bodies are not used to. And so we eat those. Our children eat those. I eat more junk when I came to America. When I was growing up, as poor as we were because of the war, my mom would go to the market twice a day. Everything is fresh. Fish are still swimming. Chicken are still running around with heads on and feather and everything. The only thing that are not running around is the pig and the beef. That's when they're not running around. But everything else is. And you buy them fresh. You took them home and you do it. I remember the very first time my aunt told me, you are going to learn how to kill the chicken. If you want to eat later, you know how to do that chicken so you can cook. So she showed me how. Well, I sat there and one hand holding onto the chicken, my other foot pinned down the chicken legs, and I got a knife in my hand and I just said, oh my God, I cannot do this. And I look at the chicken and I say, oh, please forgive me, don't come back and haunt me, I was scared. But the way I was taught is, if you don't do it, you don't eat.
Mm-hmm.
So the generation back then, they have to learn to survive by doing all these. Generation today say, that is cruel. You kill all these animals. That is cruel. That is abusive. That is this, that is that. Let's all go to vegan. Not everybody can eat vegan. And then all these food, the big corporation doing it and feed us, we are brainwashed that these are good for your kid. These are good for you. So we feed our family with all of these processed, big corporation made food. Our body system are not used to it. We need all these bad bacteria in our guts to be able to keep us alive. Now, all of those bad bacteria are being destroyed by all these chemicals in the food. So that's why our health exposed to all kinds of disease. A certain disease come from genetic. Our parents, our great-grandparents, our ancestors passed it down to us. Certain disease are us creating it. Cancer nowadays are more environment created. Alzheimer's also environment created too. Because whenever our guts are not healthy, our brains are not going to be healthy. So it's sad about it.
How did you help people? Because you had multiple people in your adult family home. Helene's oasis of comfort when you owned it.
Yes.
And they had neurodegenerative diseases. What was that like, living with them and caring for them? And like, what do you have to do with them that you might not have to do with a different type of patient? What kind of extra care do they need?
When I opened that adult family home, I meant it when I say family home. I see all of these elderly people is like my own parents.
Mm-hmm.
And so I treat them like I would treat my own parents. I want my parents to have comfort, able to be by themselves. I'm watching their changes in their health, and I take action right away. So, and because not all the healthcare system today, especially those adult family care home, it runs by an owner. They bought that home and then they hire a bunch of caregiver in. A lot of them are not even there, so they have no clue how these patients are being cared for. In my home, I was there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I care by myself to my patient. It was exhausting. It was tiring. Because when these people are old, they have not just their illnesses, but they have other issues. They have incontinence of bowels or bladder. And one patient was totally blind. And the other patient is Alzheimer, wander all over the night, going from room to room. So I have to figure out how am I going to help this patient? How am I going to guide her? How am I going to keep her safe? Especially when their dementia get to the point where they don't know who they are anymore. They don't know where they are. Change is very difficult for them. Anytime when you change certain routine, it completely throws them off, and they become very, very angry.
Yeah, my dad, I don't know how to describe, like, he's there and he's not there and he's there, and you can have conversations with him, but we had to move my mom and dad out of their house. And every day leading up to it, because we were going to move my parents to Texas, but then my mom had a seizure and then went unconscious. So we were like, well, we have to leave in a week, so we need to move them somewhere. Mm-hmm. And every day, 4 days before we moved them, frantically trying to find a family care home, I'd have a conversation with my dad like, do you know, trying to have a conversation with someone with Alzheimer's that they're about to move into some new home and their wife's going with them. It was very difficult. And it would almost have like a temper tantrum like a little kid. Luckily, he's a super loving individual, and I think that just kind of comes out, whoever the person is. They kind of, I don't know, you can tell me, turn back into children a little bit, and he must have been a very pleasant human being and got upset a little bit, pouted, got kind of angry, but you could see if someone was not happy, they could become violent, they could do something crazy. It was like trying to move them and move the house was like babysitting a 3-year-old, trying to keep him focused. And then the stress is even higher, and that exacerbates the ability to not even be able to think.
And they can sense your stress. Once they sense your stress, they become very stressful themselves.
Yeah.
And it exacerbated their disease more. And it's, like I said, change are very difficult for Alzheimer or dementia patients. So when I have those patients in my home, I usually tell their family to bring whatever it is that is very dear to them, that they cannot separate from. Bring that. And my patients have their own home. Each one of them have their own home, their own room. And so they get to move their own furnitures in there. They get to move whatever pictures they want in. They get to decorate their home, their room, the same way that they would have in their own home in their bedroom. And then you just have to slowly, help them to adjust to this new environment. Even though their room kind of similar, but the rest of the house is different. So when they sense something is different, their stress level go up, and that caused their dementia got worse. And so working with elderly patients is almost like working with a 3-year-old. You guide them.
A strong 3-year-old.
A strong 3-year-old, yeah. And you have to guide every step. But at the same time, you also show them respect because they are elderly people. They're not a 3-year-old.
Yeah.
So you have to show them their respect.
I think it's one of the hardest jobs in the world.
Yeah.
Doing what you do and watching some of the caregivers, and then when you get a really good one, you're like, this person, I said this before, I think caregivers are like angels on earth. Like the ability you need to take care of someone who's not yours, but to that level, and be compassionate and kind at the same time is absolutely incredible. Like, it's on another level of impressive.
Yeah. I love my job. I love being a nurse. I work in the hospital as a medical surgical nurse for about, 5 years. During that time, I gained a lot of experience. And I mean, when I went to nursing school, you learn all you need to learn. But the real life career is where I learned the most. Not only I learned how to deal with difficult patients, but I learned how to deal with their disease, help them to cope with their disease. And I learned to be very compassionate toward them. Because I looked at it, we're all going to get old one of these days. Sooner or later, we're going to get old. And I'm 72 now. I'm going into those years. Someday I forget things and I say, am I having dementia now? It could happen to me right now. I wouldn't know. But my career have helped me a lot. Plus, I grew up in Vietnam and I saw all this death and dying every day. I mean, I saw body was dragged on the truck into wherever they're going to take them. I saw people blown up in front of me too. If a bomb miscalculated and land in the city, I hear bombs every night. Sometimes you hear bombs and you hear the music mixed together and you can't tell which is which. So because I grew up in that kind of environment and I saw people have lost their body, their limb, their independence, their futures, I saw so much that part of me already have that compassion. So during my nursing career, I treated my people with a lot of compassion. I help a lot of patients to understand their disease and cope with it. You can't take the disease away. Some disease you can, it heal. Certain things can heal, surgery can heal, but certain disease you can't. And so you have to help this patient to cope with it. So then when they go into it full blown, they be able to know that this is part of them and they're going to live with it until the day they die. And it makes their death a lot easier because if you're constantly fighting it, your death is very, very difficult. So it's
How do you?
it's a very rewarding career.
You're saying that, avoiding, like, if you have something and death is wanting to take you, and to be able to kind of surrender into it with your mindset, do you feel that if that were to come, you could let go into it? And if so, why do you have that ability or mindset to be okay with it?
Well, I grew up in Vietnam and we do believe in a lot of things. I grew up in both religions. I was Catholic and Buddhist. My mother, from her generations, are Buddhist, and my father was Catholic. So I was baptized. But people think I'm crazy. You have to choose one God. To me, there is no God, no different God. To me, there's only one of that divine up there that you chose. And I'm not saying that people should not be religious. People should not believe, should not have a faith. Everybody should have their own faith. But to me, if you have that one particular divine in your heart, because life is hard, life throw you all kinds of curves, no matter what, no matter you're rich or poor, life will throw you all kinds of curves. And you're going to have to be strong enough to make it through those paths, those curving paths, those ups and downs. And if you have certain type of divine in your heart, you go to that particular whatever you believe in and say, hey, I mean, how many times did I talk to, I don't know who I'm talking to, myself. I say, hey, I'm going through a really difficult time right now, and I don't know how long that journey is going to be, but I know it's not going to be easy. So can you just help me make it through it? I didn't pray for, please take that away. I didn't pray for, don't give me that, but just say, help me make it through it. That's how you be able to make it through any difficulty in life, because you have certain type of faith in you that you know you're not going through it alone. With the people who's going through death, I usually say, do you have anything in your mind right now that you have not resolved? Because if a person who's going to die still have some issue that they not resolve, their mind will constantly fighting it. And when they fighting it, it's very difficult for them to move on. And so if you help them to resolve whatever unresolved issue, then their death will be a lot more peaceful. I worked in the cancer units. I worked with hospice. I put myself into a lot of situations where I would be scared to move in, but I tell myself, if I don't take that job, I'll never learn. And so I always do. I was willing, even though as scary as it was for me, I was willing to take that position so I can learn from it. And that gave me a lot more knowledge of how to, once you know how to deal with whatever it is that this person is dealing with, you have to put yourself in their positions in order to really understand how they feel and what they're going through. Then you'll be able to guide them. And plus, with me growing up in Vietnam, we do have a lot of beliefs. Sometimes it's a lot of superstitious. Sometimes this is what ancestors have been learning, and they pass it on to generations. And the one thing they always say, if a person before they die and they still have unresolved business, they will not gonna die peacefully, and their soul would not be at peace. So learning that for my cultures, I brought that into my career, into my job. And when I was working with cancer patient who's going to die, I work with a hospice patient who is dying. I help them to go through that.
It's like a death doula.
Mm-hmm.
When someone's going to pass away, are there signs that you can see?
Usually, yes, there are certain signs because your organs beginning to shut down. And when your organs started to shut down, the people, the dying patients would not be hungry. They will not be thirsty. That's also the first sign you see. We don't force food on them. We don't ask them to eat. We do not, because when the organs shut down, the organs cannot digest the food. So the more food you put in, it's make it harder for them to pass away. And so we just kind of let them ease into it. So usually, a lot of time, the patient would tell me, oh, I see my mom today. She was here visiting me. Or I see my dad, or I see my children, or I see whoever.
They'll see family members in the room.
They see it. I don't.
Yeah, they see it.
They see it. They said they see it.
Why do you think that is? Because I've heard that a lot.
I truly believe that we all have energy in us, and that energy is connecting to other energy that we don't know about. So when a person is going through certain things, in this case dying, their body is so relaxed that the energy is out there, and that's why the energy was able to connect to their loved one who had passed away.
Do you think it's also because the body's so weak that the energy becomes stronger?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah. Some psychic has that energy that they be able to read, what's going on around you. I mean, during my growing up years in Vietnam, we believe in fortune teller. We see thousands of fortune tellers. Some of them is a fake. Some of them is really fake. But a few that whatever they say, it happens. And I believe that some of those that able to read the future or tell you what is going to happen to you, they cannot tell you when, or exact time or date or year, but they can tell you that they can see per connecting with your energy that I can see in your life, this is going to happen. They cannot see so far ahead, but they can see maybe a few years ahead. And they can just kind of let you know. They cannot tell you pinpoint, but they can let you know, I see this and this. Those are gifted people because they have a very special energy that they're able to connect with you when they see you. And they can tell you all that. So for the dying people, they do, when your body is ready to go, your body put out those energy, which is, unexplainable to us all. But I have seen enough in my the years that I work in hospice and cancer patients. I believe in that. I see in that. And when they tell you that they see so and so or whoever, you don't fight back. You just help them to say, okay, your family is ready for you. At the same time, you help them to prepare their death so they can go peacefully.
How do you do that?
First of all, you make them as comfortable as they can be. At that point, their body is so weak that they can't walk, they can't get up, they can't sit up, they can't do anything. They're pretty much like semi-conscious. They're falling in and out of sleep. You let them rest as much as they possibly can. You keep them comfortable. You turn them. You still have to turn them because their body at this point break down very easily. The skin break down. They get bed sores. They got all kinds of stuff. So you need to change them as often as possible. I mean, when I was told that you have to turn them every 2 hours, it's really hard when you're the only person who works in a facility when you have 6, 7, 8, or 10 more patients to care for.
Yeah,
it's very
physical
difficult.
Labor.
Yeah. So, but you kind of prioritize. If the person can get up and walk or can transfer themselves, you just make sure they're safe. And the person that are completely bed-bound, you make sure that their skin are taken care of. So you turn them as much as you can to help the blood supply through whatever blood supplies they have left or whatever they have left is flow through so it keep their skin intact. Because bed sore is the number one cause them to die faster. Because
like infection?
Infection, yes.
Do you have any memorable or impactful stories of someone passing and seeing somebody?
Some of my patients see that they saw, their loved one or their husband. Usually is my patient, husband passed away. They will all say, oh, my husband is right here. Did you see him? He's right there. He's talking to me. And I said, oh, it's nice that he come and visit you. And you just go along. You don't fight back. You don't tell them, I don't see anything. You just say, oh, it's nice that he's here seeing you. I'm sure you missed him, and you just go along with them.
That's the same with people with Alzheimer's and dementia too.
Same thing.
Right? If you fight them, they just get frustrated.
Oh, yes. Yeah. I have had a patient that is, end stage Alzheimer. And not end state yet. I'm sorry, not end state, but she's very far along in her illness. And she wandered every night. Every night she would get up and walk out of her room and trying to find her husband because she used to take care of her husband until her husband passed away. So she always walked into the room next door and she thought that was her husband. So she went in there and she take care of him. And in the morning, he would tell me, he said, I thought I was dreaming, but every night there was this woman came and pat on me and asked me if I'm okay and trying to change my shirt and trying to pull my pants down and change my diaper. And, I told my nurse, I said, well, you have a patient next door that she had Alzheimer's and she used to care for her husband. And he said, oh, okay, then I'll just let her take care of me. He's mentally still alert, so he's able to understand. But for her, that was her job to take care of her husband. And she never let that go. As she get deeper into her dementia, that memory is always there. It become very strong, and that's what she was doing. So for me, to trying to stop her from going into his room, it's very hard. I mean, sometimes I put bell at the door because I sleep there. And if I hear the bell, I know she's up. So I got up and I kind of walk with her and kind of stir her away from that room. And she said, where's my husband's room? Where's my husband's room? And I just keep walking with her. And sometimes you walk for hours and I was sleepy. But you have to do that because those are the moment that's what she sees, that's what she wants to do. And you just have to go along with her until 10 rounds. She went back to her room. She's exhausted and she fallen asleep. It is hard. It is hard. But
I'm always curious to see how my dad does when my mom passes away. Will it throw his mind through such a loop and stress that it will plummet his well-being or disease faster? Or in some ways, will it be a blessing because he may forget in 20 minutes but then he's reliving each time being like, no, she's gone. No, she's gone. I'm curious how that's going to play out. And I feel so bad for him.
You felt for them. Yes. My mother also had Alzheimer's. And when my sister passed away, it was very hard for her to understand that her daughter just died. She still believed that her daughter was alive. She still believed that her daughter was at work. And every night, because my sister come home every night for dinner, and she was sitting there and waiting for my sister to come home so my sister can have dinner with her. And when I was with her for 4 or 5 months there to take care of her, I cooked dinner and she would not eat. She would wait until my sister come home, which my sister would never come home again. So I have to say, well, Mom, she probably have to stay late and work because my sister was a chef. And I said, well, maybe the hospital need her to cook special meal for patients. So she has to stay there and cook, Mom. So why don't you and I eat first? And I'll put food on the side.
Damn, that's got to be hard.
It is hard. So she came and ate, but she always makes sure that I have a bowl and a chopstick right there for my sister. So I did that. Took her finally several months. Sometime during the night, she wake up and she go look for her daughter, and she didn't see her daughter. And she say, where is Jackie? Where is Jackie? And I said, well, maybe she had to stay at the hospital, Mom. So you constantly have to give her stories. Mm-hmm. Just it's a temporarily fix, but it's a story. At least it calm her down a little bit. Alzheimer's patient, their emotions on and off, you can never predict. She could be very sweet at that moment, and then she become rage the next moment. And then she was very hard on you. She cursed at you. She punched you. She kicked at you. She kicked me. She punched me. She cursed at me. She told me, I'm not her daughter. Get out. She called the police and say, I'm a thief. I come in and steal her stuff. Because her mind, it is not because she wants to do that. Her defective brain give her that message. And that message is what she believed in.
So I had this thought. So you're Buddhist, right? Mm-hmm. And I don't know if this is one of the principles in Buddhism, but in death, is there a belief that trying to be conscious is one way to, I don't know, getting to where you want to go in the afterlife? Like you're saying, if you fight wanting to die, your soul can kind of get lost. Is that correct, what you were saying?
What happened, they believe, is that after you die, your spirit goes to a very special place. Now, Catholic believe going to heaven or hell. Buddhism do not believe in heaven or hell.
Isn't it like 45 days and
It's the first 30 days.
30 days?
The first 30 days, the soul is lost. Once the soul leave the body, the soul did not understand why it's not there. It see it body, but it's why it's not there. So the soul kind of like wandering around, but very close to the body. So during that 30 days, the Buddhism pray for the soul is to help guide the soul to that particular place. Those that die without anyone to pray for them, or certain death or cruel death, murder or something like that, their soul, the Buddhism believe their soul continue on to wander on earth because they have no idea where they are. They have no idea what happened to them. So they could not find their peace to go on, to move on. And so that's why the first 30 days are very hard for the person who passed away. And the family have to pray to guide that soul to wherever they're going. Once the soul leaves the body, there is no more, some say they have no more memories. But to me, I felt there is the spirit has some kind of specialty there that they have. I really don't know much about it, but I know that they will always be there for you. I know, I feel that,
And you talk to your
Sometime I
past
talk
loved
to,
ones?
yeah, sometime I talk to my mom. Sometime I talk to my sister. Of course, I don't hear them talk back, but they send you message. There are certain messages they send you. And a lot of time we don't, our life is so busy, we don't pay attention to it. We don't attune to it. So we cannot get that message from our depart loved one.
What kind of messages have you gotten?
I have like most of the message that I got from my mom or my sister is mostly in my dream. I see them in my dream. If I have a hard time, if I have a difficulty, something there happened in my life that time, I would see them in my dreams. It's almost like they come to comfort me. Now, Tony's father is a different issue. After he died, he came to visit me. And when he came, I knew it because half of my body was ice cold and the other half is normal. At first, I didn't understand it. I thought like, is something going on with me? Am I having certain disease here?
Stroke, yeah.
Yeah, I thought I had a stroke or something. And I was just shocked. I was scared. And it was there for a short amount of time, and then all of a sudden it disappeared, my body back to normal. And I thought, well, maybe I have a stroke. But then it happened frequently. The first month after he passed away, it happened frequently. Even in my dream, even when I was sleeping, I would wake up and I felt half of my body was super cold. And then I start seeing him leaving me a little message. Now, Tony's father never say sorry whenever he did something wrong. Never say sorry.
Runs in the family, pal.
But
Rascal.
I come home from work and I would see a piece of paper with the heart and an arrow. Always a little heart he draw and an arrow. So I finally say, okay, that's your way of saying sorry. I accept that. Now, whenever I went through any difficult time, I went through a challenge in my life, or I have something that make me feel very sad, I would find little heart in a different shape, different way. Like the picture of I cracked 6 eggs, and all of a sudden that last egg I cracked, it formed into a heart on its own. I haven't even touched it with a fork or anything. I took a picture and I sent it to him. Anytime when I see a heart, I would take a picture and I sent it to him. I walked out into a patient room and there was a dead snake in a heart shape. Now, how many times a snake turned into a heart shape?
Mm-hmm.
That was the only one I saw. So then I believed that that was his message to me that, hey, I'm here for you. I know you go through a hard time. So I believe that the spirit, your loved one, sent you message. You just need to learn how to attune to
You
it.
just have to be open to
Yeah,
receiving
have to be
them.
open.
Do you have I imagine just living your life has made you very attuned to spirits, but do you have a practice you do now in your life that helps you stay open?
As far as practicing, no. I don't believe I practice anything so I can see the spirit. I don't. With my loved one that have departed, I have an altar table, which is according to the Buddhism. You continue on to respect your parents, your ancestor by creating this altar table for them. And every year on the Chinese New Year, you make a big feast, with different food and everything like that. And you welcome all of your ancestors back. Now, my ancestor, all of us have generations of ancestors, and some of them you don't even know who they are, but they are part of your family. So that table, that feast table that you created on the Chinese New Year's Day, the first day of the Chinese New Year, is for you to reconnect with your loved one and your ancestors. And I do believe growing up in that culture, in the Asian culture, I believe that it doesn't matter who you are, your family, even if after they're gone, they will always be there for you, and I do believe in that.
Mm.
Yeah.
I want to topic switch real quick. Obviously, we've had a kind of a heavy conversation, death, Alzheimer's, people dying, but you've regaled me with tales of your childhood and fun stories growing up in Vietnam. What are some of your favorite memories growing up with your sister, just running around Vietnam, or even in boarding school? Because you went to boarding school for years.
Yeah.
Yeah. What kind of hijinks did you get into?
Oh, I was the mischievous one.
Also runs in the family.
I think I have a very rich imagination when I was a kid. Very rich. And plus, my mother always said, you take care of your sister. And if I don't, she whip me. And so I'm always have to come up with all kinds of entertainment to keep my sister busy. And so when my mother put it into the boarding school, it's a Catholic boarding school. And my sister was 6 years old and I was 10. So I was the big sister. And my mom said, you have to watch out for your sister. You have to take care of her. You have to do this. You have to do that. And be a big sister. That's my responsibility. So in boarding school, I always, watch out for her. I would not let any kid bully her. I would not let anything happen to her. But I also have to entertain her, because she was scared. She was only 6 years old. And so I always come up with all kinds of plans, all kinds of play, all kinds of stuff that I wanted to do. And then eventually in the boarding school, you form your group of friends, and you have all your friends there, and you see your friends day and night. You're there 2 weeks at a time. And so so every recess time, I would come up with all kinds of fun things to do. And I always got into trouble with the Mother Superior, which is the head nuns. And one time during the time of the music, the Beatles and all of that, the twist, and singing, dancing is no to my mom. You go to school. That's it.
It's like
you don't
Footloose.
do this. Yeah.
No dancing.
No dancing. No singing. My sister had beautiful voice. She can sing around the house, but she cannot sing in public. And And I love to dance. And so I finally learned how to do the twist. I went back to school that weekend. You went home for every 2 weeks. You went home on Saturday, and then you returned to school on Sunday by 6:00. So when you return to school, you play in the playground for a little bit before you get ready to go to bed. So I told all of my group, I said, hey, I just learned how to do the twist. I'll show you. So I was down there doing my twist. Little did I know Mother Superior is standing up there on the second floor looking down to the playground and saw me do all that. The next thing I know, the nun came to me and said, Mother Superior need to see you. And I said, okay. I went up there. The Vietnam schools are very strict, super strict, stricter than my mom. Anyway, I went up there and I stood there in front of her, and she said, do you know that you just sinned? I looked at her and I said, well, what did I do? And she said, you dancing, that's a sin. That's not a dance. God will punish you. And she said, go over there and say 10 Hail Mary. And I said, but I just danced. And she said, go over there and say 10 Hail Mary and ask for forgiveness. And I said, okay. So I went over there. I stood in front of the statue of Mother Mary. And I looked at her and I said, Mother Mary, you get sick and tired of me praying 10 Hail Mary all the time. You're sick of it. I know that. So why don't you just forgive me right now and let me go? Mother Superior looked at me and said, you a child. And I ran.
Nuns are crazy.
They are.
What were the punishments like in a strict Vietnamese Catholic boarding school?
Oh, 10 Mary, 10 Hail Mary, every single time you make a mistake.
Was that it though? Was there like physical punishments?
No, they don't. They cannot do physical.
I thought they used to whack you with a ruler.
Oh no,
on your
that was my elementary school. We had calligraphy every week. I mean, not every week, every day. We have 1 hour calligraphy that we have to learn. And it's the type of pen that you dip into the ink and then you have this pad. And once you write it, you have to gently pat it down so it doesn't smear.
Wow.
And I'm the one that, yes, I want to write well, but I don't care much about being so precise. So I just go. And the teacher, they walk, the school is table and then aisle and table and aisle. And he walk around with a steel ruler and he just kind of tap his hand like that. Steel. Very, when you got hit on your knuckle.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, so he walked by me and he saw me being careless. And he said, why did you do that? And I didn't even have a chance to look up at him yet. And there goes that steel ruler right onto my knuckle. And you felt that shock wave right through your bone into your body. And all I could do is just hold on to it. And I looked at it and I said, that's mean.
Oh, man, that's so brutal.
Yeah.
All those nerve endings and right on the bone.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be.
Yeah.
Maybe.
But in the Catholic school, no, they make you sit in a corner. They make you say 10 Hail Mary, or they'll send you to the church and you sit there until you ask for forgiveness, until they come and get you out. But that's as far as they go. But everything you do is a sin to them, beside praying. And I grew up in that kind of environment that I felt like, is that all God do is punish you because you sin all the time? Everything you say or do, you sin, But you're so brainwashed into that type of religions that you didn't question. There was no Bible when I was growing up. You cannot find any Bible in Vietnam. You find a little praying books when you go to church and you see all these little praying books and you can get them. Mm-hmm. You get all the rosary you want, but there is no Bible that you can find in Vietnam.
Why is that?
I don't know. Everything was taught by, you go to church and you listen to all these, sermon from the priest at church, and you have to believe in that. Um, everything you do, you pray, you always pray, 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 pray. But as I grew up and I came to America, if I don't go to church, I feel guilty. Because that you grew up in that type of environment, in that type of training, if you don't go to church, you sin. So when I was working for the airline, I couldn't go to church because half of the weekend I have to work.
Mm-hmm.
And so I couldn't go to church and I always feel guilty. Finally, I say, enough of this guilty. I can't go to church because I could, not because I don't want to. And then I started to do some more research. I started asking about, different faith. What are they believe in? What are different faith was teaching? And from my research, I started to buy different Bible from different faith, and I start reading it. That's helped my English also.
Mm.
And I read all of that, and then eventually I picked out all these teaching from different faith, and I realized they're not different. They're pretty much the same.
Yeah, I felt the same thing when I was young. I was taking different religious courses in high school. There was a class that was like you studied all the religions, and it's just different interpretations of an unknown thing that is unexplainable, but it's just a telling of a story. Just like most books are following the hero's journey, a very, outline that happens in many books, but just told different characters in different ways, with different symbols, with different rituals and different practices. But like you were saying earlier, it's like there's a spirit and essence and energy that is just true in all things, and however you want to connect to it, but it's there. And I think it's important. People should study all of it, because I think in each religion or culture or belief, there's like a nugget of gold in each one. That's like, oh, that's an interesting way of looking at this wild, cosmic play that we're in.
Yeah. 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 And I feel that because of the people faith is faith. You have to have some. Even the people who call themselves, they don't believe in any religion, there's something in them that help them go through their life. And some of them are so close-minded into their particular religions that they don't see that others are not that different. It's very much the same. You teach to be kind to people. You teach not to steal. You teach not to cheat. You teach not to do this or that. Well, if you put all of these religion together, it's the same thing. It's the main principle teaching is right there. But some people, they felt that their religion is better than the others, or their religion is more true than the others. And so they insist that you have to follow their religion. Or some people would use their religion as their own guidance and creating issue, like we see in society today, in all the world today, why there are fighting in Middle East, why there are fighting in other places, why there are these, because some of these leaders are holding on so tight to this particular belief, and especially in the Middle East right now, in the Palestinian and Israel, it's thousands of years of Bible, of this, of that, of the land that was promised to them. And so they hold so tight to that this leader or whoever it is forgot that we are no longer in that ancient time. Who promised that land? Were we there to see that? Was there any kind of sign, paper, that showed that land that promised to you? Or was just the word of a person who say there was a land that promised you by God? Who is the God? Who is it? Have you seen that God yet? Did that God speak to you? Or is it that person believe that way and pass it on? So now that leader or whoever it is, head of whatever country is, believe in that and carry that on to today, and then creating all these issues. To me, what we need to educate, and people need to be educated nowadays, not to take sides, not to be closed-minded, but to learn more about it. Why did I read that book? That book that I brought to you? What was the name of it? I forgot now.
1,000 Years War on Palestine.
1,000 Years War on Palestine. I read that book because I was puzzled. My husband is Palestinian-born parent from Palestine. My husband is Jordanian, but born by Palestinian parents. And he was helping when he was alive. He was helping the people to understand this issue in the Middle East. But a lot of them don't want to hear it. A lot of them don't want to see it. A lot of them don't want to be educated. So that issue, that conflict has been there, and now it's completely out of proportions. So many people get killed on both sides. What is the benefit of that? None, except people dying for that piece of land that was promised by somebody.
I think what's happening too is there's leaders.
There's leaders.
And at the end of the day, they want either money or power.
Mm-hmm.
But then it's like a soccer team rivalry. They get them amped up on emotions, i.e. religion or history.
Mm-hmm.
And then they get each other to fight each other. But at the end of the day, the people at the top don't give a shit about what's happening. And they're just like, yeah, let's cause chaos. And there's probably multiple deeper layers of like people from other countries interjecting their thoughts and opinions and agendas that could be a 30-year plan, to do something way down the road.
Mm-hmm.
And they're just using this one conflict that went back a long time ago and exacerbating it.
Mm-hmm.
Like the government putting crack in Black communities. It's like, who knew that, they destroyed that whole thing? There could be so many influences
Yeah, if you've
happening.
been taught anything, it's that you can't trust the government. There's always some seedy, under the radar shit that they're doing. They're serving crack to Black communities. They're framing quote unquote terrorist attacks. They're spying on your data. They're doing everything because, like you said, they don't actually care about you. There's a power play. There's a money play. They're just hungry for whatever's next.
And there will always be that.
Yeah.
We as a citizen, we cannot fight that. There will always be that. And that's a sad part about it, And I felt that we're going into the 21st century. Why do we still need to have war? Why do we still need to conquer land? The lands are there. And we don't take care of it, nobody's going to be alive to see that land, So with all these bombing and with all these things, it's more chemical into the air. It's going to kill all of us. Look at all the things changing in our body right now. And I feel like all the leaders of each country need to learn about how to negotiate in a way where they could come to an agreement without using war. You know what I mean? Because war doesn't resolve anything, doesn't take care of anything at all. It is not going to, you're not going to win. Yeah, you may win, but how many of your people that you sacrifice their life for? You sacrifice all these men. That's son of some parents there, a husband of some wife, father of some children who are now losing that person. Their families are all disrupted. For what? For that piece of land? Or for your power, for your name, your title? That is wrong to me. If you're a leader, then be a leader. Learn how to negotiate. Learn how to incorporate things that you can be civilized with other leaders to save your people, save your land. To me, that's what leader is. Because if I run my adult family home recklessly, I would kill all of my patients. But I don't. I run my home with compassion, with understanding, with willing to learn the knowledge so I can help this patient, whether they continue on to live or they move on to their next life. That's my responsibility to these people when I accept them into my home. Leaders have responsibility to all of their citizens, all of the people live in their country. So why are you taking them out and sacrifice them for what? So you can call yourself a president, so you can call yourself, you win this war? There's no winning there. To me, that's how I feel it.
I think, unfortunately, human beings
Power.
have this thing from so long ago that's ingrained into our animal brains to want to fight each other. And I think a lot of, like in Buddhism and things, to try to elevate the consciousness through meditating and whatnot, was to try to override those things and to develop a loving society. But ingrained in us, especially if people are in poverty or pain or whatever, they're easily manipulated, and then those animalistic things come out, and it's easy to be like, we need to take these people or do whatever it is. Also, it's important to have somebody in power who can put people in check, because there's going to be psychopaths in the world.
Oh, yeah. There will always be.
There will always be. So what do you feel about, like, how the election's coming up? How do you feel about the country? You know, do you feel fearful with all these different things going on, like Ukraine and Palestine and Israel?
Yeah. I mean, yes, it's there. It's real. It's what we see right now. We don't know what tomorrow is going to be. It could be erupt into a World War III. It could be resolved. We don't know. Everything is so uncertain right now, and it's scary. It's scary to everybody, not just America alone. I really don't have the answer to that right now. I mean, we are voting soon, and the candidate that we have right now, I can tell you right now, 90% of the population in America are not very happy with the candidate that they have right now. But what choice do they have? Biden is a peaceful, caring president, but unfortunately, he's getting old. People are trying to get him out. Trump, do I want him? I don't think so. He's too arrogant. And every time he opens his mouth, he doesn't know what the heck he's talking about. He just blah, blah, blah. Do I trust him? If he's a leader and I have questions about him, how can I trust him to lead my country? And with everything going on right now, he's a cheater. He steals from the people and lies to the people. Do I want him to be my president? To be the leader in my country? No.
And then how do you feel about RFK?
I don't know much about him yet. You know, I mean, I need to do a little bit more research on him, but I hear so many different stories about him. So I'm a little iffy about him too. So right now, I'm not the only one in America that are very iffy about these three candidates. And none of them are the one that we can feel confident enough to pick one. And that's a scary.
Yeah, it's sad we've gotten to this point. Before, I don't think this generation knows what it's like to have good candidates running for president and to be like, oh, I like this guy's policies, but I also like this guy's policies. Like, everybody now is just used to, like, well, fuck it, let's see what happens. Like, nobody actually wants a particular president.
Yeah.
There's very fringe groups on either side.
Yeah.
But like you said, 99% of people are like, well, I guess we're fucked either way.
Yeah. And it's sad because if you don't have enough confidence, it's just like in your own family. You know, the president is the leader in the family. And if you look at a small family that are disrupted and the children have no person to guide, no directions, this is exactly what our country is right now. And it's scary because you don't have a leader is strong enough with sound-minded to run the next 4 years for the America, we don't know that next 4 years is going to be, or
Knowing
how
what
it's
you-
going to turn out to be.
Sorry.
It's scary.
It is scary. And knowing what you know about Alzheimer's, dementia, what do you see when you look at Biden?
You know, unfortunately, he get to the age where there is no way around it. He's already have this dementia. I don't want to call it Alzheimer because we don't know. We don't know if he's having Alzheimer or not, but most of us, at least 85% of us, when we get older, our brain will deteriorate and we will have this forgetfulness. There's no way out of it. Okay. Even those who live until 100 years old, that's the fortunate person who live until 105 and still have a very strong mind and still, good mind. But those are far and few.
Mm-hmm.
Majority of us will go into this forgetfulness time when we reach, past 70 years old. He's there. And to ask him to run another 4 years to take care of America with all this mess that's going right now and with the state of mind that he's in, it's a lot to ask of him. And a lot of responsibility to put up on him. And I don't think that he'll be able to do it. It's sad to say that, but I don't think he'll be able to handle that.
Yeah, I think it's more important to have, especially in this time period, to have somebody who can have conversations with some of these leaders like China and Putin or whoever it is that command respect. And he can at least have a figurehead that is respected, because having someone who has dementia, I mean, if you watch him 4 years ago to now, how much he's declined, I feel horrible for the guy. And he's being led around like a puppy. There's no way he's reading, CIA documents from all around the world about what's happening and cognitively even be able to process stuff, let alone remember it and then make a decision that's smart. He shouldn't even be driving a car, let alone have the ability to launch missiles.
He's too old to work a regular job. If he was that old and acting like that at Walmart, he would get fired.
They took my dad's keys away when he started forgetting some things.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Like
Totally.
we had to take over his, ATM cards, his bills. So that person is no longer calling the shots on a world stage.
And we're giving this guy the nuclear codes.
It's insane.
It's
and
wild.
like whether like you're that side or not, it's not about that. It's like respect for him as a human being. And also it's just like, you just have to admit that's dangerous.
Yeah, whether you love him or hate him or you're indifferent, like he's a human, and his last years shouldn't be spent stressed out on TV getting paraded around.
Yeah.
And elder abuse runs so rampant with people with Alzheimer's and dementia when their brain starts to go. Like he's for sure just getting used. That sucks for the guy.
Yep. He's going to be, he's going to be controlled by other people, and he will not be able to make sound decisions.
Yeah.
And that is sad. He should not be in that positions. And I think it's good that it's come toward the end of his term and he'll be able to,
Hopefully.
rest.
Or just enjoy because it's going to keep declining.
Yeah.
And that's the period of time you just want to enjoy, I feel like.
Yeah.
As much as you can.
He's not getting better.
But yeah, if you get a chance, check out RFK. I really like him. I think back when he was young, he fought for a lot of vaccine injuries.
Yeah.
And so even if his policies aren't 100% amazing, I think as an individual, he commands respect because he's articulate and he's open-minded. He takes care of himself. And I think in some ways that's more important for the nation, because even if Trump, let's say, is a strong leader, half of the country is going to lose their fucking minds because for whatever reason, some people, it just drives them like almost like they not just don't like him. Some people literally go crazy.
Hate him.
And that is also a problem. So that's why Biden or Trump, is going to be turmoil regardless. And I think maybe someone that's separate from that, who's independent, who like very articulate, can talk on a 3-hour podcast very openly. We need someone like, not Obama, but someone who can inspire people again. And people don't realize, I think, how important that is.
Yep.
Like, you may disagree with Obama's policies here and there, but damn, when he gave a speech, you were like, fuck yeah, USA. Like, he was so good at giving speeches, and it just, I think that's important in this time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, we're about time on the podcast, Mom.
You did amazing.
You did a fantastic. This is your first podcast.
Thank you.
You could have went 2 more hours.
Absolutely, easily. You absolutely killed it. On a final note, all your years of wisdom, 72 years on this earth, you've been through war, you've been through everything and back, you've seen love, you've seen hatred, you've seen death, you've seen life, you've seen it all.
And who knows how many Hail Marys.
And how many, it's fucking a million Hail Marys at this point. Mary knows you by name now.
Yes.
Like, oh God,
Speed dial.
it's Helene again.
That's why my middle name is Maria.
Exactly. Yeah, you're just another Maria.
Yeah.
What advice do you have for people in this world who are trying to figure it out, or maybe going through a tough time because you've seen so much?
Well, to me, I feel that we will always be challenged by life. And there is no way out of it. Doesn't matter how old you are. And I feel that you just have to look at it as a lesson to learn and not look at it as a challenge that you have to conquer. You're going to have to go through it. You don't have a whole lot of choice. You either go through it with your strength, with your mind, or back off and take what's life throw at you. So you're going to have to make that decisions. To me is talk yourself how important. Why am I going through these? What is the lesson that I'm learning about these? God knows how many lessons I learned in my life, how many stupid things, choice that I made. But every single of those, I went through all the 5 stages of angers, and sometimes I look back and I still do. But I look at that and I say, okay, if I didn't meet that challenge, where would my life be today? Would my life, where that road lead me? And because I went through that challenge, I learned something about it and I made a different choice. Now my life is here and I'm happier. So it's important for you to look at every single challenge you have in your life and look at it as a learning lesson. And if you can learn from your mistake, you will be better off. You will be happier. And you don't have to go through all these cycle. You don't have to, not cycle, but you don't have to go through all these depressions and lost in your life. To me, is just accept it. Accept whatever it is, the challenge that you go through, and figure it out. How are you going to go through that? And what are you going to do with it? What is this challenge teaching me here? And if you can ask yourself those questions, and then you say, okay, I need to do this, and do this. I can give up or I can move that way. Then your life gives you a directions to go through it. And when you come out of it, you look back and you say, oh, now I know. I always tell myself there's always a purpose of everything that happened in your life. Just because this is what you want to do, life may not be set that way for you. You may have to change your directions.
We know that with Amazon stores.
Yep, that's for sure. Very wise.
Yeah, beautiful.
Thank you, Mom. Thank you for coming on the podcast, coming all the way out from California. I love you.
I love
for
you
joining
too.
us. It was a fun story.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm glad I'm here.
Love having her at the house. Always good times.
Always a good time.
Looking forward to maybe some Vietnamese food.
Yeah, we're making pho, dude.
Yeah, we are.
Homemade pho.
Excellent. Super excited.
Yep.
Sweet. All right. Thanks, Mom.
You're welcome.